Hey everybody, and welcome back. Today is December 28th of 2019. In this video, I'm going to be discussing the numerology of the death of ESPN reporter Edward Aschoff, who passed away on his 34th birthday, which was Christmas Eve, earlier this week. His death came after a short battle with a sudden, serious illness. In this CNN article, we're being told that he was diagnosed with both pneumonia and a disease called HLH shortly before he died. Aschoff had been tweeting about how ill he was, spending time with his fiancée, and then suddenly, like I said about last week, passing away on his birthday. On this channel, I talk about the language of numerology and Gematria. Gematria is the occulted practice of coding numbers into words. We combine this language with dates on the calendar, both date numerologies and date durations. And we find that when we compare these two, Gematria, date durations, we find a lot of hidden riddles that appear to be evidence of some sort of script underlying what we see in the mainstream media. Of course, this comes from the Kabbalah, which is a way of understanding the inner workings of the world. But when someone just suddenly dies on their 34th birthday, of course, there's going to be a lot of questions. And we'll talk about my opinion on this specific case towards the end of this video. But first, let's get into the numbers. And I want to start with this fact that he died on his 34th birthday, which is mentioned in the CNN article linked in my post here. 34 is a number that we discuss when it comes to murder by numbers quite frequently. The word murder in what we call reduction or Pythagorean gematria, the cipher in which each double-digit number is reduced to a single digit prior to adding it to the equation. In this method, the word murder has a reduction value of 34. Now, this appears to be particularly significant for the network ESPN, which Edward Aschoff worked for. Notice how murder sums to 79 in the alphabetic order. This is the cipher, the most basic one, where the alphabetic order is numbered 1 through 26. The network ESPN was founded in the year 79 on the date the 7th of September, which is written internationally as 7/9. So ESPN founded on the date 7/9/79. So it's interesting that this reporter dying on his 34th birthday when murder also equals 34. Edward Aschoff was born on Christmas Eve of 1985. This means that measuring from his date of birth to the date that he died on his 34th birthday, he was exactly 12,418 days old. And the important part here is the 418. Because when we look at the age of ESPN, the network he worked for, on that same date, he was 40 years and 108 days old. So in his age and in ESPN's age, we see the number 418. What's especially interesting about this is how the name Aschoff, with the S exception, equals 40, ESPN's age. And it's being said that he died from pneumonia. Using the alphabetic order, pneumonia equaling 108. Perhaps worth pointing out that pneumonia, summing to 108, this is 54 times 2. The network ESPN equals 54 in both ordinal and reverse ordinal gematria. Furthermore, pneumonia sums to 45 in both reduction methods. And this stands out because the 45th prime number is 197. And this is another number that's connected to ESPN, its full name, Entertainment and Sports Programming Network, summing to 197 in reduction. But pneumonia was only one of the diseases he was diagnosed with. The other one was HLH. This stands for hemophagocytic lymphohistiocytosis. Quite the mouthful. Notice how in Jewish gematria, HLH's full name sums to 2310, and this is very similar to ESPN's age on the date Aschoff was born. Notice how it was 2,301 days old. This Jewish gematria cipher, also known as Latin, using the ancient Latin alphabetic order, with a cipher that's structured similarly to Hebrew gematria and Greek isopsephy. Now, in the next part of this post, we're going to talk about how this man died by what we call the Eclipse Crucifixion code. If you look back at the videos on my channel, you see that when I decode the deaths of celebrities, we're often looking at the numerology in relation to total solar eclipses. And I have no doubt that this year's total solar eclipse, as well as a couple others, are integral to the numerology of this man's death. And let's start off with the fact that this man has 67 gematria. Now, this is a very significant number to the code. Using the reduction cipher, the phrase total solar eclipse equals 67. This is the same as both blood sacrifice and human sacrifice. The name Ed Aschoff in the alphabetic order sums to 67. Not only that, but the name Edward Aschoff equals 67 in reverse reduction. So regardless of how you write his name, we both get 67. The disease he died of also has 202 gematria, with the S exception. 202 being the ordinal value of total solar eclipse. The 2019 total solar eclipse fell on July 2nd. This means that Aschoff died 175 days later. In reduction gematria, hemophagocytic lymphohistiocytosis sums to 175. If you include the end date, we find that he died a span of 176 days after the eclipse. The name Ed Aschoff sums to 176 in reverse. July 2nd was the most recent total solar eclipse. The next total solar eclipse occurs next December on the date December 14th. Measuring from the date Ed Aschoff died to the date of that eclipse is exactly 11 months and 3 weeks. In the alphabetic order, the name Edward Aschoff sums to 113. Another significant cipher that I've been teaching a little more frequently lately is Frank Baconus, which mixes capital letters in with small letters in the alphabetic order. This cipher going 1 through 52 instead of 1 through 26. In this method, his name sums to 224. In the year 2024, there's a total solar eclipse that passes from coast to coast in the United States. Well, perhaps not exactly coast to coast, but nevertheless, the path goes from Texas up through Maine. And notice how he died is a span of exactly 224 weeks before the 2024 eclipse, and his name equals 224. Furthermore, think about this number. If you multiply 2 times 24, you get a product of 48. The date he died had a life lesson number of 48. 12 plus 24 plus 2 plus 1 plus 9. Not only that, but if you measure from the date he was born, you find he was exactly 408 months old when he died. And just so we can all see this significant 2024 total solar eclipse that will pass from Texas up through the northeastern United States. So, the riddle here is clear. The man's name, his birth date, the date that the network he worked for was established, and total solar eclipses, as well as the diseases he died with. From front to back, beginning to end, a complete eclipse riddle. So was this man murdered on his 34th birthday? Did they somehow give him a degenerative disease that would then result in his death? I suppose that's possible. Anything is possible in this world, right? What I also think could be likely here is that, I don't know if it's likely, but it seems possible that this guy could be some sort of character. And I mention this for a couple of reasons, not just the numerology and how well it all lines up, but this guy's last name is a little bit suspicious. He's got a couple of what we might consider hoax codes in his name. First of all, his name is, has the word ass in it to start, Aschoff. But also, this OFF sequence at the end of his name. OFF in reduction gematria is a 666. And as far as I'm aware, this is something that's commonly used in hoaxes. So I'm not saying this man's death is a hoax. I'm just saying that's a possibility. I would be much more... I'd be very curious to see if there's any pictures or evidence that this guy was sick in the weeks leading up to his death. Either way, very strange, very suspicious story, and one where the numerology, once again, screaming everything about the total solar eclipse code. So thanks to everybody who jumped in the live chat during the stream here. Once again, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. And share with any friends or family who you think could benefit from this type of knowledge and waking up a little bit to the darker side of the Matrix, perhaps. All right, everybody. Hope everyone's enjoying your holidays. Peace, love, God bless, and we'll talk to you again soon. See ya!